Hello everybody, thank you for clicking on the video. Please stay to the end. If you like it, please like, subscribe or click on another video.
Look, while I do want to write comic books in the future, it doesn't mean I'm an expert in storytelling or writing good characters. I just have an idea and I believe that idea will make me money. So when I'm complaining about Invisigal and how Dispatch, I don't know, it didn't come across as her redeeming herself. When I think of redemption, and yes, this is not a set in stone way of writing a character. It's fiction. You can write it any way you like. And some people will like that character for the way they are. I mean, I can think of Rock Lee in Naruto, written terribly. Terribly. I mean, this man has did nothing. His best moment was 2 seasons into the show, and the show ran for 10 years, okay? That can tell you something. But people still like him. People still want him to have been, what's the word? Taken more seriously, or been seen as a bigger deal, especially in the war arc. So that is just one example of a lot of ways that anybody can be written and people can still like that character for the way they're written. But when you want to put a tag on them, like say, oh, this is an underdog, or this person is going through a redemption process, there are certain steps you should go through. So when I think of redemption, I think of three things, and you need to do two of those things. The first thing is between two people, right? The offender and the offendee. There are three things you need. One is remorse from the offendee. The other one is rejection from the offender. Yeah, did I get those mixed up? What you need for between the offender and the offendee is remorse from the offender, rejection from the offendee, and maybe forgiveness by the offendee. Okay? Maybe. It's not necessary to have forgiveness, but you make for a happy circle moment, right? When I think of who best represents this, I think of Zuko, right? And yes, it's been talked about forever. I'm not saying that Zuko is the best redemptive story, okay? There are plenty more. But when I think of the gold standard, the template of how you should write someone who is redeeming from their past mistakes, it better be Zuko, right? Just think about it. He was remorseful for his actions. And even for a longest time, he was still fighting himself, turmoil in between, whether or not he should follow his family or whether or not he should listen to his uncle. He ended up following his family at first. Then he regrets it even more and then decides to work with Team Avatar. And then the rejection is from Team Avatar because they don't trust him. Why should you? After everything you have done to them, why would they just trust you willingly and just say, go and join our team? That play where Team Avatar were in the Fire Nation Island and they were just watching a play of themselves. That was how the show presented. Sorry, that was how the show presented Zuko in the play, where he just decided, "I'm good now, so I will join you in your quest." And they were like, "Well, we have no choice. Come along." I mean, that play was already a parody because the Fire Nation won in the end. It was done like in a tongue-in-cheek way, right? So that's different. But in terms of the actual show, they did not accept him. He had to go through different journeys of the north, of the south, of the east, not of the west because Top didn't get anything. But he did have to go. I mean, look at all the stress this man did just for these people to start taking him, just to warm up to him, not even accepting him in the team yet. Warm up to him. He saved Saka's father from a prison, a highly secured prison on an island. He managed to do that for him. Helped Katara finding peace with her mother's death. I mean, if it was up to Zuko, you have just killed the man. But hey, at least, at least he's trying. Helped Aang to finally learn fire bending because at that point, who else would they have met? Apart from that old man, they met in like I think it was season one. with the white hair and where and mistakenly blonde Katara. That man, I can't remember his name. He's part of the White Lotus anyway. But I don't know. Maybe actually I don't even know if this was their long term plan. If people just like Zuko it came about like that. I don't really know. It depends. I think I'm getting sidetracked. But that is what Zuko did for the group, for them to trust him, for them to accept him, maybe even forgive him. I don't know. I I don't. In the end, it was Zuko and Aang standing together. So I have to assume that Aang did forgive Zuko. You know, as if Zuko didn't really do anything that wasn't worthy of forgiveness. You know, I mean, it wasn't Zuko that burned Katara's village. It wasn't Zuko that kidnapped Sokka's father. It wasn't Zuko wasn't there when the air nomads were destroyed. That was 100 years ago. None of this was really Zuko's fault. All you can really blame him for is him being obsessed with the Avatar, causing destruction wherever he went to go and find them. You know? Now, take that template and put it on Invisigal. I'm not saying it. You know, the remorse. Let's start with the remorse. Where is the remorse for Invisigal? She screwed somebody, Robert Robertson the third. That's a funny name. Man. She screwed him out of his suit. Knew she screwed him out of his suit. Decided to work for heroes, but was still working for the bad guys while working for the heroes. Getting paid twice. Was trying to flirt with you while doing this, knowing that she was the one that caused your suit to be like that. Went and made your friend almost die because she wanted she was saying she wanted to get the power pulse for you, but ended up keeping it for herself. And then after everything, if you go and use the third option in the ending, she still becomes a bad guy. So it was already a predetermined thing that she was still going to become a bad guy regardless of your efforts. All because you outsmarted the villain yourself, she became a bad guy. How is that your fault? It's a choice that she made herself. So where is the remorse? Then, in all honesty, for the people who are not a Invisigal Blonde Blazer, although I am a Blonde Blazer fan, okay, that's just because Invisigal is just a shitty human being. And at least Blonde Blazer is trying. It's not as if she knows she has flaws. I mean, she's very self-conscious about the whole Blonde Blazer thing. I mean, it reminds me of who can I think of right now? Like Wonder Woman. Or if Wonder Woman, if Diana had braces that could turn her into somebody else, I can see that kind of thing happening to her. So it's a realistic thing to have, right? But it's just something I don't think I will ever stress over like that. But still, in the ending, she was okay revealing it to everybody because she needed a way to outsmart Shroud, right? So I personally think Bombeza is better and a better pick for him and a more healthy one, if I'm being honest. Because this woman was playing you. I'm not even like how superheroes keep their secret identities for your sake, right? Because this is the modern era, people like to complain about that or shit on it or say, oh, it's unnecessary. It's still necessary, okay? It makes sense in their head. It's not out of malicious intent. This girl was lying to you all for the time she met you, okay? And was still working for the bad guy while you were there, screwing up the jobs on purpose, and then going to a playground, smoking and telling herself, man, I should really quit. I was born with a villain's power. While you were born with a villain's power, because you should. It is a villain's power. Let's not. I won't fault her for thinking like that. But it's not as if she gave it any other choice or she gave it any other chance. She didn't try to be better. All she did was complain and leave it like that. But yet, for some reason, we go to the rejection part when she goes and tells Robert all of this. And mind you, Robert doesn't know that she was still working for. Robert doesn't know that she was still working for Shroud. Okay, he doesn't know that she stole the pulse and kept it for herself. Okay, those two things, he still doesn't know them. But she still threw out a lot of things at him. being the reason why he was in a coma, being the reason why his family legacy suit is no longer there. And it's not as if Robert hated being a hero, right? He enjoyed it. I mean, depending on the choices he made, he enjoyed it. Can I say enjoyed? It was a duty. Let's just say that, right? And he was happy doing the duty. He's the type of guy that will go and stop an armed robbery with one arm. Okay, that is the kind of guy he was, and you took that away from him for no other reason than you needing a machine to help yourself beat your lung capacity to keep walking, even though you're still smoking for some reason. I don't know get that. And in the options, not even, I don't know why that third option is there. Why is there an I forgive you? Nothing else? You couldn't think of anything else as a third option? You just said I forgive you. And when you are watching a lot of people's playthrough, a lot of people pick that immediately because they're shipping the two of them together, right? Because if you just pick one, I don't know. Out of the three of them, the only ones I saw where people pick where I forgive you or that's it were true, right? I can't remember what the middle one was. So I don't know if the middle one also had an option of she'll kiss you as she's invisible or something and you have to lean in and lean out. Just but that is the problem, right? Where is the remorse and why was there no rejection? That is what I don't understand. I've not seen, I think a worse one to me, and people like saying he was a better redemption story than Zuko. Like I see the tags everywhere that people always comparing the two, especially after the show has ended. Now, mind you, I didn't finish My Hero Academia. Okay, I stopped at what season 4, maybe in the overhaul bit, and in the manga when the heroes. I just watched it to that end because I just wanted to have like a good start when I save it in my laptop. But in the manga, I stopped at when the villains were legit getting hero moments. Okay, those 3 villains, or sorry, like 4 villains, the girl with the blood, they died twice, I think. Shigaraki, I don't know who was the other one. It made no sense to me how these people were. I was actually cheering for them as they were fighting this thing and their powers were upgrading mid fight. I was like, what is this manga doing to me, man? I'm rooting for these people, even though these people are terrible human beings. I'm sure for a good story, that's fine. But it's a superhero story, okay? I'm not supposed to be rooting for the villains like this. I can feel sympathy for them, but I don't like I don't like justifiable villains. I feel like there are too many in this fictional worlds that we have been immersing ourselves in. They are too justifiable. Because it makes the heroes look bad. Because when you start looking at justifiable villains, you will now look at the heroes like, oh, it's your fault. Why are you doing this? Even though this person is suffering from that, it takes a shine off of the heroes. Is what I'm trying to say, right? That's why justifiable villains should be a minority. But there's so many now. I don't understand. I just like crazy. Just give me a crazy villain and just say he's doing. Sure, you can have a bit of a backstory, but why is he being crazy? But eh, that's just me. Again, yes, I did not finish watching My Hero Academia. I don't know the ending. I don't really care because the show didn't. I feel like it lost. What the show could have been is not what the show is, right? So that's really it. But the main problem is for the person I'm talking to, Bakugo. Why is he a redemptive story? Sure, you can say there was very little remorse, but at least she was a bit sorrowful. And while you can say there was no rejection, in Bakugo's case, there was no remorse because he was right in the end. And there was no rejection because everybody liked him as he was. Not really liked him, but they tolerated him as he was. I'm very sorry. Bakugo told Deku when he was a kid, he bullied him as a kid and told him, you can't be a hero without a strong core. Was he lying? He wasn't lying. I'm very sorry. What do you want me to say? He wasn't lying. So what makes you think that I should then feel sorry for Deku? Or I should root for Deku actually, when he then gets a strong quirk himself and wants to become a top hero. You prove Bakugo's point. So what makes you think that Bakugo needs to be remorseful for his action? He bullied him, but Deku never had any problems with that. he stood up to him. He still thinks of Baku as a rival, even after all of the things he did to him as a child. I'm sure you can say that's a good mentality to have, but nah, man, screw that. You just came at me for no reason, just because you're a bit jealous of me, or you're a bit jealous of how I present myself, and you decide that, damn, then and there, I'm going to break you because you're a kid, and you think I'll let you off because you're a kid. Nah, man, that's ridiculous. So this dude did all of that, all of those things, whether it's a movie, whether it's an OVA, when that Baku is still being a thief, Deco has never looked at it and gotten mad at Baku, or he doesn't even look at him like, what can I think of here? Like a Naruto or Sasuke kind of relationship. Sure, they may hate each other sometimes, but they also care about, or not really hate. They may dislike each other, but they care sometimes, especially in the pushing part. Like, let's not talk about Shippuden. In the pushing part. But that wasn't the case for Bakugo and Deku. Deku legitimately respected him. Even when this dude would throw missiles at him in a fight, when he knows that Deku could be hurt, he's just like, Bakugo had a plan. He knew he wouldn't hurt me. Just keep telling yourself that, man. Even his classmates, who was it? The hard guy. The dude who can, not like that. The dude who could turn his skin, not skin to metal, that is the other guy in class B. This one, his skin could harden, right? Instantly became friends with Bakugo and that electric guy. They became friends with Bakugo, even though Bakugo never changed at all. They just accepted him as he was. They took his flaws as what it was. Flaws, which is still a normal thing to do. But Bakugo is not really somebody I would want to mix it in real life with. So let's just keep him in fiction. But that is the problem. Who else was part of them? I think that tape guy was also friends with them, I think. I'm not sure. But Bakugo legitimately had friends. He legitimately had people who would go out of their way to save him when he was kidnapped by villains. And he hadn't changed a single bit. He was still the same. They still went, and Deku was part of them, mind you. They went out of their way to save this dude, even though he hadn't shown any bit of remorse for his action, any bit of changing of his character. In the exam for hero license, there were the examiners were old people in a like disaster area, and this dude literally told these disaster people who had suffered the disaster, go and stand up and go and walk yourself. These people didn't even take it as him being rude. They took it as, wow, he realized that we could stand on our own, and making sure that we prioritize those who can't stand. Impressive, giving points. Or the exam, not really exam, the tournament, the season 2 tournament, where Bakugo and Todoroki were fighting, and Todoroki lost control of his powers and ended up losing. Bakugo was so pissed, and this dude was just, they had to restrain him. There's a meme there where they put Bakugo being restrained by the heroes and Bakugo when he was restrained by the villains, and they just said, man, even the villains didn't treat Bakugo like this, man. But that's the thing. But even though they restrained him like that, they didn't look at it like he was being a sport human being. Dude, I can understand you having pride, but yeah, take it easy and calm the hell down. They locked his hand, they gagged his mouth, they strapped him to a metal pillar. Even after the fact the tournament had ended, they were still restraining him in class as well. You can imagine. They just took it like Bakugo is doing Bakugo. Not anything like, oh, wow, Bakugo is really, we really feel, did anybody feel bad for Bakugo in that instance? No, but for some reason the characters did. If you are thinking of redemption, I think of Endeavor before I would think of Bakugo. Because he had, he did shitty things and he was remorseful for it. And there was rejection from his family members because, yes, you treated us like, all because we didn't have quests or our quests weren't as powerful, you didn't want anything to do with us. You pushed your only son, your last, depending on when you watch it. I mean, I figured it out since I didn't need to watch the anime before I knew who that dude with the bandages was. I mean, it was pretty obvious when you get midway. But he pushed his son, I believe, away. I don't know how he did it, but he pushed him away to the point that he became a villain. At the end of the day, he had to be, and especially when he became a number one hero, a role model, or so they say. a role model to all of these other people. He had to fight one normal and he ended up winning, and everybody was taking him seriously, right? He realized that he needed to change from within as well. That is where the remorse came from. And the rejection of the family was also a normal reaction. And then after everything, hopefully there will be forgiveness. But that is how it should be, right? Or no, let's not say that is how it should be. That is how the template is. Now, Invisigal didn't use that template, right? He didn't use that template. And people still like her. Obviously, for the dream scene, I think it has to be from in my experience. It has to be for only that reason. But people still accepted her and they still like her. And all the power to you. But I just think if you want to frame her as this redemptive hero that Robert Robertson III failed, it doesn't work. I don't know how they're going to do it when this batch 2 comes out because I have to assume there will be a part 2 or a 2. No, really, it was episodic, right? So maybe they'll just start from 9 or was it 8 where they ended? I can't remember. Maybe they'll just start from there. But it really depends on how they want to rewrite the story because they had 3 different options. So depending on how you maybe it's like Call of Duty. I think Call of Duty also has this option. Depending on how one ends, it will start the way that one ends. So long as you install it from your system, right? So maybe after everything, she's the villain in the other arc, or if you gave her, kills her in the ambulance or whatever, or you ship yourself with Blonde Blazer, or depending on how your own story and maybe you start from how that story ended for you. Or if they're going to start, this is the canon event, right? You have to assume that one is the canon event because it made the most sense. Sorry, it made the most sense for Robert to reach out like that, especially when the bastard had the audacity to take a dog that did nothing wrong, god damn it. But it really depends on how the show ends it for you. Maybe you forgave her. Maybe you didn't forgive her. It really depends. Maybe when episode 9 or episode 8 comes out, whenever they are ready, we'll know what the fallout is between Invisigal. But that's really all I have to say for now. Thank you for listening. Bye bye.